Hello! Well, it's cold today. Relatively cold. Anyway, it's 12 degrees Celsius. And it's time really to clear out, to tidy up, wash down things, and prepare for what we're going to be doing over the next couple of months inside that polytunnel up at the top. My super duper trampoline frame polytunnel. But there's a lot of cleaning and a lot of clearing and a lot of prepping really to do. Now, I didn't quite complete the sort of window lifters and things like that. So there's gaps around the base of the polytunnel. I'll show you in a minute, and they've got to be rectified. They've got to be sorted out, ready for the winter season. So that's what we're going to be on with today. I've just had a coffee. Nobody's here. It's Saturday morning. There's usually a few of the lads down here, Mick and Henry. I think Joe's away on his holidays, but there's nobody here. There's only me. I feel all on my own. So, but that's, as Joe will probably tell you, that's a good thing because I'll get some work done. So we're going to crack on with that. All right. Turn my lights off. My lights are working, as you can see, again, in here, in the Tikki tunnel. So yeah, we're going to be washing down, clearing off, tidying up, making good, and preparing. Ta-da! Right, so this is the sort of top end facing side of the Tikki tunnel, and as you can see around there where the windows are, there's gaps. So those gaps will need to be sorted out. And give those windows something to close against. I have already done that on the outside, actually, on the sort of Tikki hut facing side. I've done that. So these actually, these should close down and then be clasped with the closers there. So I'm going to do that on that side, like I've done at the top here. I never actually opened this top one, I don't think. These clasps hold them in place, stop them flapping open and letting the cold air come through. Now, you're not going to sort of completely negate the cold, but the more you can do, the better, because it'll keep the warmth inside. It'll sort of prevent all the cold breezes blowing in and what have you. So that side's been completed, but the other side hasn't. And that's where we've got the gaps underneath there. So I'm going to sort those out. I'm going to have to get some 2x1 timber, which is this stuff that's on the top here, and build around that so that they will close against it and the gaps won't be as prevalent. Also, through the summer, we've had this open with the venting. So there's vents there and vents there, netted vents. Now, what I could do with doing really is getting some of this stuff, if I've got any left, and building some framework that will fit in from the outside and close those vents off. Look at that spider there. He's a long-legged drink of water, isn't he? Look at him. So yeah, that's what we're going to be on with, and obviously tidying up in here as well. I've not got my yard brush today, so I can't really sweep that out, but what I can do before the shop's open, because the timber yard only opens at 9 o'clock and it's only about 7:30 now, I can wash these off and clean these off, which were on the top of the benches here. So I'll wash those off and clean those off, and those are the watering trays which are going to be put back into there. And we're going to get our winter veg in there, our leafy green veggies in there, and maybe a French breakfast 3 radish. Got some seeds to sow here, as you can look and see. I mean, we're starting in September now, and they can be planted or seeded up until October, and because they're going to be indoors, they should be fine. That's a tobacco plant. courtesy of Magical Mick Derbyshire. I think it's a Golden Virginia. So we're going to try and keep that alive over winter as well if possible, and then it'll be ready for next year for planting out. Yeah, so lots of clearing, lots of tidying, lots of making good, you know what I mean? It's been neglected really. We've been on our holidays, haven't we? So we've not had a chance to do much. And home commitments have kept me away as well from doing what I need to do. So this is the time to do it this weekend. We'll be on with this. Do what we can. Right, let's crack on. Let's get spraying those watering trays, eh? These babies. This is the sort of winter greenery we're on about, the sort of autumn winter greens. I've been picking these, not that you can tell because it's a right jungle, but they're coming through nicely. I like the abundance we're getting. Red amaranth, we've got the beets, different sorts of beets, we've got spinach, spicy mix of oriental leaves, etc. That's the flowering pak choi, that. Joysome. All of which can be eaten, of course. So yeah, we'll see how we get on with that, because the spinaches are in there and the beet leaf. It's going to give us that sort of vitamin A and all the rest of it, hopefully, as we go into autumn and into winter. But that's the idea for the polytunnel as well, because it's going to be relatively protected from a lot of the harshness of the winter conditions. We can hopefully grow through the winter in there certain varieties of crop like them. Right, let's crack on with that spraying down I was on about. These dirty gets all mucky pups, these. So we're going to give them a good blasting down, clean them all off, and so then they're going to be ready. I'm going to spray them as well with an antibacterial spray and wipe that off once it's been left on for about a quarter of an hour, just to get rid of any pathogens or sort of, like moulds and stuff like that. That's what you've got to watch out for. Get them sterile, or as sterile as you can get them. And so then when you get your plants in there, obviously these are just the watering trays, but you get your buckets and your plants in there, you're minimising that risk of mildew and all kinds of other diseases. So this is the point really of getting them all sprayed down. I'm going to spray them all down with that. Right, let's crack on. So a strong, constant jet will get rid of the majority. As you can see, it quickly cleans them up. You get a good strong jet of water going through it. And it removes the majority of the verdigris. Verdigris and detritus. I like them words. Latin, I think, aren't they then? Verdigris and detritus. Makes you sound posh and clever, even if you're not. Right, I'll crack on with that. So don't forget to spray these front and back, because these little fellas like to hide in the lips and on the undersides of these, and you don't want slugs just creeping about and eating what you've just sown, your little plants. They need a good couple of sprayings. These have already been sprayed, but as you can see, there's a lot of discoloration on that. I'm going to have to get a scrubbing brush, I think, and get that off. But it's well worth doing, because you can use them again and again and again and again. You get 10 years out of these if you look after them. And they do cost about £5 each for these big ones. So yeah, it's well worth the effort. So Wigan Timber was closed for some bizarre reason. It's usually open from about 8 o'clock till 12 o'clock on a Saturday, but they were all shut up, so I don't know what was going on there. So I went to Handyman Stores at Plattbridge, and we have timber. So that's 2x1 in 8 feet lengths. Now, there's plenty there. I think it came to about £20 that for that. And it's the tannalised stuff. It's the tannalised 2x1, which means it's got a bit of weatherproofness about it and a bit of longevity to it. And that's going to be sort of fitted in around the reverse side of the windows as a casing and a sort of shut to at the back of the windows on this side. And that's the task for today. That's what we're going to be on with. You see where the gaps are. There's gaps. There's a gap. I'm going to be filling gaps and making a close for those windows. But, like a fool, I've not got my drills and my saw with me. So I'm going to nip off and get that now, back from our house, and then I'll be back up. And then once those are completed, I'll continue on and I'll finish up in here and tidy it all up. Those water trays have all been cleaned off now and they're all fine and dandy. Mick's just give us, Magical Mick Derbyshire from Old Mac Darby's farm, has just give us a bit of vine from his black grape vine that he's got over there on his side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip it off there, make a diagonal cut down there, plant that one on, and then plant that one on, try and get 2 vines going over winter inside here. Because eventually the idea will be, hopefully, that we could have a couple of grapevines growing in here, run over the bars. So I'm going to be looking into that and figuring out a way of doing that. I do know several ways how you can do it, but because I've got all the sort of bench work around here, it's going to be a bit more tricky to sort of plant it in. But we'll sort something out. If I don't get it growing in here, I'll get it growing in the other greenhouse. I'll get them growing in the other greenhouse, but we'll start them off in here and get them rooted up, get the vines rooted up. But yeah, look at the state. I sort all this out today. Ta-da! My trusty set of battery-operated power tools there. So that's what we're going to be assisted with today. First thing I've got to do is round the outside, we've got to make these sit so that they're closed off like that. Now, I have noticed that I've done a bit of a boo-boo there, and it's on an angle. There's nothing to worry about that, really. It's just that the outer timbers are standing a bit proud of where the drop goes. So that's the drop. And you can see there's an inch there. So it's going to be on an angle. But as long as it closes and I can build it up behind, that should be okay. I'll be fine. But that's going to be going all the way across. And yeah, happy days. So I'm going to use this, cut it down into, there'll be 3 closers made out of that. So I can keep those shut. And then what I'll do then is I'll build up the wood from behind. The sort of seat from behind on that wood. That's the plan. So I'm going to cut that into 3 and create our closers. Okay. They're just in there to keep the windows closed. You can open it up and it'll flop open like that. But then you just close it like that. And then I can build up from the back. And yeah. Create the seat, seal the gaps that are at the back of it. So we'll take a look at what's going on around the back. Okay, so there's the gaps that need to be filled up. So yeah, because of the sort of angle of the window drop, at the top there it's about 2 inches, and at the bottom it's only about 1 inch, standing proud. So that's going to be a bit of a tricky one to get it, because you're not going to get it flush, are you now? Because if you look at that, you can see the angle there. But nil desperandum. As long as we can sort something out so as it's a lot better, or a bit more draft resistant or draft proof, That's all I need really. And that's all I can do, to be honest, because of the faux pas that I made when I fitted those windows. Suppose there is another way around that, isn't there? There is another way around that. I can build it out, can't I, from the top. Let's go around here. Yeah, I can take these off and put another timber across there. That'll make it flush, and I'll be more satisfied with that, I think. So I'm going to take that window out, put another strip of 2x1 on that, and hopefully that'll sit a lot better. That's what I'll do. Yeah. So I've taken that window out, as you can see there, and I've measured the gap, and the gap is just around about 4 feet wide. So what I've done is I've transferred that measurement onto the 2x1. You can see where it falls there. I'm going to cut that then and fill in the gap over there, and it should be more or less right, that. So it'll be 1 inch by 2 inch to fill that along here, and then we can reattach the window to there, and it should drop vertically rather than on a cack angle. Okay, so that's the first bead of 2x1 in the tannalised stuff, and as you can see, it probably sits just about a little bit shallower than that, but it's neither here nor there really, and I think that'll serve its purpose. So once we fit the window back, we should be laughing. I did make sure that I checked where the original screw fittings were before I put any of these in, so that the screws that fix the batten are not going to interfere with where the hinges are going to be screwed onto. You don't want to be screwing the hinge screw through and hitting one of your batten screws. Well, that's all right. I think that'll do the job. Just put 4 screws in there to fix it, and we're going to hang the window back on now. So yeah, I'll come back to you in a minute. Right, now as you can see there, that window drop, that vertical window drop is correct now. It's fine now. That's how it should be, and actually how it should have been in the first place. I just made sure that there is a little bit of a gap all the way around, so that you can account for any expansion of the timber. As it gets damp, it'll swell. So you don't want it exactly spot on, because it'll be too tight when it expands and it'll warp. But that should be fine. That's being held by the down clasp, and then you've got you know, I've just put a couple of screws in just for demonstration purposes, and they're holding it now. I'm going to put the other screws in, the other 6, so it's another 3 per each hinge, and that should be all right. I'm going to carry on with that same method all the way up and do the 3 windows with that. But we'll see how it sits from the rear. So hopefully you'll be able to make out that from the rear we've lost that sort of incorrect angle, and we're okay now to just build it up from this side, and we'll have our closer on this side. We'll fill the gaps, and it should be fine. So they're all in, and they're hanging a lot better than they did before. That's how they should look. So it remains to do the inside and do some gap filling. If you look on the outside, it's still looking a little bit rough. Now I will be filling those gaps up, I think, just for the aesthetics. But what I want is to get the drafts dealt with as best as we can. Make sure we can sort them drafts out as best as we can. So that's the main job, really. All right. So what we've had to do on the back face is build out the timber, the framing at the back, so that it stands proud of where the window frame sits. And the reason for that being is that in order to form a closer, we're going to have to attach more timber, more 2x1, to the top of this, the lip. And then that will form the close. It'll form a good seal all around. So we built that out proud. We're going to put the rest of the 2x1 closer on this side, and that should be job done. I'll show you the stages of it. So that's the timber built out. I should have had 2x2 really, because this is quite thick. Yeah, because of the 4mm polycarbonate as a sandwich in between the 2x1 of the framing of the window. It actually needs to have that extra depth coming back, that extra, so it's recessed into so you need that extra depth coming back. So what I have done is I've put the 2x2 together. So I screwed the first piece of 2x2 on, and then the next piece of 2x2 to that. So then essentially it is a 2x2. Did I say 2x2 a lot of times then? 1x2 or 2x1, and then another 2x1 onto that to make a 2x2 or 2 inches by 2 inches bit of timber. And then you're left with the lip then that you can attach your closer to, like that. Now I've not done the side bits yet, but that's the base bit, and you can see it's quite tight now. The window's quite tight against that seating, that inner framing, so it closes to that. I've done it all the way around on that side, so the framing of the window closes against the 2x1 all the way around. Now that is pretty solid and tight. Now I put a piece in down there to fill a gap that was along the bottom, only a very, very small gap, but that'll keep more of the breeze out, more of the draft out. And Bob's your uncle. So that's how it will look in the end on all of them. So leave me for another 5 minutes to do that, and it'll all be done. About an hour and a half's worth of work really, this all together with the outside and the inside. But it pays dividends because it'll keep all that draft out on this side. And there we go, all perfectly closed off. Yeah, where the windows meet the back plates, the back frame, whatever you want to call it. So it closes to it, and forms a pretty good seal. Now what I've done on the outside to try and prevent the windows themselves from warping is I've put 2 closers or 2 clasps per window, and that should help to keep the timber straight, the frames, the window frames straight. So you'll have the hinges at the top to sort of keep that piece straight, and the closers at the bottom to keep that piece straight. And it closes against, as you know, as you've just seen, the frame inside. So that should keep the windows pretty straight and true. Now it's been red hot. Not outside, it's been like sort of 18 degrees outside, but it's got to 31 degrees inside here since I've closed everything off and kept the drafts out. Hence the nakedness. Not naked obviously, but my tan lines is not good, is it? Yeah, so I've had to take my fleece off. I came down in the fleece this morning because it was pretty chilly. It was only about 11 degrees I think this morning. That's Celsius. That's the correct temperature. I don't know what that would be in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius it was 11 this morning, 18 now. And if we have a look at the temperature inside here, bearing in mind I've had the door open and the sun's gone in. The sun's been in for about 20 minutes. See what it is now? Yeah. I'm going to call that 30. 30 degrees Celsius. Or centigrade is what it is inside here. Look at that prehistoric beast. They got 4 inches across. It's a daddy long legs, obviously. But yeah, he's a big one. Now Magical Mick Derbyshire has given us a gift, which I'm going to be potting on this week. That's it. And what that is Golden Virginia tobacco. It's a golden Virginia tobacco plant. He's got loads of them in the greenhouse. Back to back to here, we've got old McDarby's polytunnel, and he's got it well set up in there. It's a right little. It's a hive of industry. There's all sorts growing, and it's all growing really well and healthily. And as I say, those are tobacco plants. I'm going to keep it in here for a bit, and then when the weather starts turning colder, I want to pot it on into a bigger pot. But when the weather starts turning colder, i.e. it's dropping low in here, this is keeping things a lot more temperate, a lot more heated than they are outside. That's for certain. But tobacco plants, Virginian tobacco like that, needs its warmth. It likes its warmth. It likes its light. So that's going to be going home with me, and it's going to go in one of the front windows, on one of the south-facing windowsills, where it'll remain, hopefully, alive until next spring. And then next spring, hopefully, if the weather's fine, we'll get that out. But I'm going to try and keep it alive at our house over winter and see what happens with it. So I'm going to put it in one of these big buckets, these big Asda buckets, with nitrogen. I'm going to get some 6X in there, and like I say, we're going to keep it at the front of our house in the window. See how it gets on. Right, that's me. Okay, off we go. Get some lunch. Obviously, it's not cleaned and swept and beautiful as I wanted, but you've got to keep growing with your head down, haven't you? Do what you can. So that's going to be for another show. I'm going to get the brush and the pan, the cleaning equipment up here, and get it all sorted out. Those tomatoes have only got about a week left for me, and they're going to be coming out then. In sort of preparedness for the winter veg, like we saw in, well, actually, like we've got in this bed here. Stuff growing in there. A big fat bed of veg over there. Leeks. They'll stay in for a bit longer. But what I did spot is I spotted these, which I might well take tonight. Little collies coming through. There's one there, and there's one there, and there's a little one over there. Now I'm thinking that the slugs are getting at them, or they will be doing. That one looks pretty pristine. But they're all collies in here, and before they go the way of the Chinese cabbage, which is over there, mercilessly attacked by the pests, I'm going to be harvesting some of that, I think. But yeah, we've still got stuff growing, and it's going to be continuing to grow on September, October into November. Some of the vegetables will be. The reason I'm clearing out that polytunnel is that a lot of the veggies are going to be going into there, so the sort of cold hardy stuff is going to be growing in there over winter, and the same with that top greenhouse as well, and maybe even the lady farmer's greenhouse, which is back behind me. I don't see why not. We've got the space. The indoor space is what you need though, under glass. I'm trying to use the sort of cold hardy stuff, because the reason being for that is, I'll have to look for my keys in a minute. I can't find my keys. And the reason being for that, I'll tell you what I have found. I know where my keys will be as well. They'll be in my Austrian army jacket over there. What was I on about then? Yeah. So the cold hardy stuff, I don't want to use I don't want to use any heating inside the polytunnels or the greenhouses, because for me it's not really cost effective. It costs a lot of money to heat the greenhouses down on an allotment plot, and so they're going to have to be a bit tough, but it'll keep them out of the icy wind, and it'll keep them under cover, and it'll keep them, hopefully, those few degrees higher, and keep them alive. So, you know, the winter hardy stuff that we're going to be putting in there, hopefully it should last through till next year. I'm just tipping some of the vegetables and stuff that we got from our house. You put them in them council recycling bags that they give you, which is all well and good, but they don't break down as quickly as you want them to break down. And there's a lot of orange peel there as well in that. I'm boring you to tears. I'm aware of that. But it's difficult to do with one hand. I shouldn't be doing it with one hand. I should be a lot more professional than this, shouldn't I? Anyway, it's in the into the compost. So if I don't see you through the week, I'll see you through the window. This has been Guru Mafinda signing out, and remember, we love you all. And this week, hopefully, I'll be able to get some more videos up. Sorry for being absent this last week or so, but should be back in the swing of it this week. And most of that's going to be the starting of the seeds for winter, the clearing out in there, making space for the overwintering stuff, give it a good chance under cover. That's the plan. And then we're going to be preparing these beds then for next year. So there's going to be a lot of weeding going on in the next week or two, and covering up with the black stuff, or even cardboard, in preparedness for next season, for next year, for the outdoor grown stuff. Okay, so lots coming up, plenty coming up. Look at these damsons, they're not even in distress. There's damsons on that tree. I'd given up on that tree, but it's coming through nicely with the damsons. Just got to be careful that all the wasps don't eat them before you do. But we'll see how we get on with that. Right, I'll catch you later on, boys and girls. Have a good week. Tatty bye now.